Hey there, Middlers, Strategy Battle Gamer. So today we're going to be doing a review on the Quest of the Ringbearer supplement book. I'm fully aware that this video is long overdue. I believe Quest of the Ringbearer came out later last year. If anyone's unfamiliar, I actually had a big promotion last year, which kind of that job that it entailed ended. But I was very busy the last part of the year. We were able to get stuff up for the channel, like scenarios and stuff for the Quest of the Ringbearer. You guys can see under our playlists. But I'm going to go and review this book. So this was the only supplement that came out last year, 2020. We did get a Best of White Dwarf magazine, basically, which isn't really a supplement, but it was another book that came out. It was really cool. I also picked that up. So I'm gonna go and start with this. So this is very similar to the Scouring of the Shire in terms of the scale of the book. I personally, so with the Scouring of the Shire and with Warren Rohan, in my personal opinion, is a supplement done very right. Warren Rohan is possibly the best supplement in terms of getting new profiles, getting terrain, and getting all kinds of new toys to play with since I can remember, since maybe There and Back Again, I think was possibly the last supplement book. And There and Back Again, guys, is the Hobbit book that came out that pretty much revitalized the game back in like 2016, I think. So it was a long time. But Quest of the Ringbearer is a very small scale, very similar to Scouring of the Shire. It has 4 new profiles in it, I want to say. Yeah, 4 new profiles, and we'll jump into those in a sec. But so here's how this book is. You're basically following the path of Frodo Baggins and his hobbits. So the first scenario is... I'm trying to find it, guys. I believe the first scenario is Farmer Mac's Crops, yes. So the first scenario is Farmer Mac's Crops. We actually have a gameplay of that on our channel. Then we go to all the way to Mount Doom. So basically it takes place like the Fellowship of the Ring movie. Like Balin's Tomb is in here. Escape from Dwarrowdelf is in here. The Bridge of Khazad-dûm's in here. Lothlorien's in here. And there's some really cool scenarios. Breaking of the Fellowship's a personal favorite of mine. Ambush Daemon Hen's in here. Taming a Smeagol. So basically, you basically follow Frodo's adventure from Farmer Maggot's Crops all the way to Mount Doom. The End of All Things is the name of the scenario. There are 4 new profiles. I'll jump into those real quick. So the first 2 that I'll talk about are in... It's called Fairmeer Rangers of Thillion. Basically, it's Anborn and Mublung. They're both extremely cheap Gondor heroes. Both of them have Woodland Creature. Both of them have Heroic Accuracy. Both have armor. Both of them have bows. Anborn has a really cool rule called Lethal Aim. Each turn, Anborn spends a single point of might without reducing his store. This is used for in the ways to hit and to wound rolls when shooting. Anborn of Thillion may be taken as part of a Minas Tirith list as well. And then Mublung, he has Rangers of Gondor within 6 inches of him, including Fairmeer and Madril, Damrod, and Anborn. Gain the Stock Unseen special rule. Additionally, enemy models targeted by a shooting attack from Mublung or Rangers of Gondor within 6 inches of him, including Fairmeer, Madril, Damrod, and Anborn, do not benefit from the Stock Unseen special rule for the duration of that shooting. So this basically means that he gives a 6-inch radius around him of your Rangers, including your heroes, get Stock Unseen, and then models that you're shooting at do not get it as long as they're within 6 inches of Moblung. It's a really good rule. It'd be good against if you're fighting elves, for instance. We actually had a pretty big discussion on our Gondor War Legendary Legion about these. Moblung, Ranger of a Thillion, may be taken as part of the Minas Tirith army list as well. So Gondor, Minas Tirith, got 2 new profiles, 2 new Ranger guys. I really like these models. I really like these profiles. And it kind of makes it so, like, in my opinion, Gondor, of course, has always had the 2 big play styles. You could play them with Horde, you can play them with a big piece, but then the fact that you got these guys in here now means you pretty much have endless options. You could take a big Boromir or a big Aragorn, and then you could throw these 2 guys in there as cheap. They're both minor heroes, so they could each lead 6 troops. So, I'm going to move on to the next 2 profiles. So both these are really cool. I really like the Hairy Goatleaf profile, mainly because I do have a Ruffian army. I don't think it's been on the channel, but I always welcome getting a new Ruffian hero for the Ruffians. So the first profile I'll talk about, though, is Barliman Butterbur. He is a minor hero. He has a cudgel, which is treated like a club. He has Heroic Resolve and Heroic Defense. He has a special rule called Barliman Butterbur at your service. During his move phase, if Barliman Butterbur is in base contact with a friendly hero model, he can spend a will point to use this ability. If he does so, roll a d6. On a 5+, the hero regains a wound lost earlier in the battle. If Barliman Butterbur uses a special rule on a hero from the Fellowship army list, they will regain a lost wound on a 4+ instead. Build a pony. You may include Build a Pony in the same force as Barliman Butterbur, as if he was part of Barliman's warband. Even if your force does not include Sam, if Build a Pony is taken as part of Barliman Butterbur's warband, he will only cost 10 points rather than 25 points. Additionally, Barliman may benefit from Build a Pony's official meals and second breakfast special rules. So that's really good. It's kind of like what I was talking about in the Legendary Legions. Anytime you can get some kind of point reduction or free upgrade, I mean, it's a big deal. And I think I'll have to go and look, but I do believe that Barliman is historical allies of the Fellowship, so you can easily include him in a Fellowship army and get a discounted Build a Pony. He is allies of convenience with the Shire, the Rangers, Minas Tirith, the Fiefdoms, Dead of Dunharrow, Rohan, Wildmoon of Drunadan, Brivandel, Lothlorien, Halls of Thranduil, Fangorn, and Misty Mountains. He's in possible allies with other armies. Barliman is Fight 3, Strength 3, 2 wounds, 1 attack, Defense 4, Courage 4. He's 1 Might, 3 Will, 2 Fate. I don't know if I covered that. I could see him being really cool. So I think he's a really good profile in terms of, I think he's a profile that a lot of fans wanted. I think a lot of fans, like a lot of players of the game, have wanted a Barliman Butterbur profile for quite some time. Very similar to like Elfhelm and things like that. And I'm glad that he finally got a profile. I'm not sure. I vaguely remember reading somewhere that he was part of the Wanderers in the Wild. Yeah, he's a part of the Wanderers in the Wild. And so is Hairy Goatleaf. Hairy Goatleaf is the same points cost as Barliman. He's Fight 3, Strength 3, Defense 3, 1 attack, 2 wounds, Courage 3, 1 Might, 3 Will, 1 Fate. He has a dagger and a lantern. The lantern. The area within 12-inch radius of Hairy Goatleaf is illuminated. As if it were daylight, models within this area can be seen clearly unless another special rule will prevent them from doing so. Gatekeeper. During priority phase, after priority has been rolled, Hairy Goatleaf may spend a point of will to use his special rules. If he does so, select one enemy infantry model within 6 inches and line of sight of Harry Goatleaf. Roll d6 on a 3+. The chosen model cannot move that turn, though they can still do anything else they would normally be able to do. Harry may use Might to influence this roll. Monsters are unaffected by this rule. Harry Goatleaf can either be taken as a good or evil model. If he's taken as a good model, he's historical allies with the Fellowship, convenient allies with the same list as Barliman. If he's taken in as an evil model, he counts as a hero of fortitude for the Sharky's Rogues, and may be also included as part of the Chief's Ruffians Legendary Legion. So he's a hero of fortitude if you take him with the good. Or sorry, with the evil. So those are all the profiles. Yeah, and I think that the 4 profiles we got are really good. They work really well with the kind of like supplement this is. Honestly, I wasn't expecting a lot of profiles in this supplement, just because of like, you know, the nature of it. It's a really small scale. But here's one thing that I was really impressed with this supplement was actually the legendary legions that this supplement had. So of course the first one's the Breaking of the Fellowship, and if the Breaking of the Fellowship is like the whole Aemon Hen scene from the movie with Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, you know, the Boromir showing up and saving the 4 hobbits, or sorry, the 2 hobbits. It's one of my favorite scenes in all 3 of the movies. It's just, I don't know, ever since I was a kid I fell in love with that scene, and honestly that sequence of events, because I remember when I first saw The Lord of the Rings, I fell in love with it, I mean, right away, but then when that ambush Aemon Hen happened, it was just like mind blown. So I think that this Legendary Legion, this is the first Legendary Legion in the book, I think that it really captures a really good themed fellowship, basically. It's a Gandalf-less fellowship because that it takes place after he falls, but so the army composition is Aragorn Strider, Legolas Greenleaf, Gimli son of Glóin, Boromir of Gondor, who can take a shield, Frodo Baggins with Mithril Coat and Sting, Samwise Gamgee, Meriadoc Brandybuck, and Peregrine Took. Okay, so additional rules. Breaking the Fellowship force must always include Aragorn Strider, who is always the army's leader. The Breaking of the Fellowship force is always deployed as a single warband with Aragorn as the warband's captain. And then all models in this force gain a Elven Cloak for free. So again, another free upgrade. Big deal. And I mean that in a positive way. Not big deal. It's a good thing. Anytime you get free stuff or discounted stuff is good. So then you have the special rules, which is the Gifts of Galadriel. Each member of the Fellowship will gain items listed below, which will have the effects detailed. So Frodo has the Light of Erandil. Erandil, I think is how you pronounce it. Each turn, Frodo may use a single free will point to attempt to cast Blinding Light. Magical power, Blinding Light magical power, this is on a 3+. It cannot be channeled. Frodo cannot use this if he's wearing the ring. So, one of the big problems when you're playing a small, compact force like the Fellowship is when you have to fight a shooting-based army, or something with a lot of shots and a lot of projectiles. Things that can, especially if like your heroes and stuff in this list aren't like high defense models. I mean, defense 5 and 6 basically. It's the highest. Sorry, Gimli is 8, but for the most part, you're looking at defense 5 and 6 models. So having a blinding light that would help prevent getting shot to pieces or shot by siege weapons or things of that nature, I can see that being a very viable option for this Legendary Legion. Sam has the Elven Rope. Sam always counts as rolling a 6 on any climb, jump, or leap test that he has to make. It's a good rule. It makes Sam pretty mobile on the battlefield. Merry and Pippin, Daggers of Noldorian. Merry and Pippin may reroll any failed to wound rolls in combat. That's pretty good, especially if you could pair them up with Boromir. Very thematic. Aragorn has a Elven-made dagger with Uruk-hai Bane. It's a good rule. It gives Aragorn Strider a Elven-made weapon, which he normally does not have, unless you take Elisar. So that's a good buff. Legolas, he has the Bow of Galadrim. While within 3 inches of a friendly model, Legolas may reroll any failed to hit rolls when shooting. That's a really good rule, considering normally when I play Legolas, I miss 2 of his 3 shots. Gimli has Galadriel's Locks. Gimli may reroll all dice in dual rolls. Gimli may only use this ability 3 times per game. Then Boromir has the Golden Belt. Boromir gains the Woodland Creature special rule. So here's like here's some extra rules that they have at the Fellowship. So they have the Blessing of Galadriel. Friendly models always count as having Fortify Spirit magic power cast upon them. This is always in effect, even if their will has been reduced to 0. This is a big deal, guys. Models from the Legendary Legion count as in range of a banner if they're within range, a 3-inch range of a friendly model. As a Frodo, okay, and then here's our last rule. You have my sword. As long as Frodo's alive and on the table, or escapes the board in scenarios where this applies, all models from this Legendary Legion gain Fearless. Special rule, additionally, the Force will never be considered broken while Frodo is alive and on the table, or escapes the board in scenarios where it applies. So, the way I see it, if you want to play a Fellowship army, I actually see this specific Legendary Legion being possibly the best way to do it. Yes, you don't have Gandalf, but one of the big perks about Gandalf is the fact that he does cast Blinding Light, and I believe I added up the points for this Legendary Legion, and I believe it's 600 exactly. So this would be perfect for a 600-point event. In fact, I was thinking about taking it out at the next 600-point event that they do. It just seems like a really viable way to play this army. Possibly the best way to play it without Gandalf. Alright, so Rangers of Thillion. I'm going to go and skip this one, guys. If you want to hear our opinion on the Rangers of Thillion, it is on our Gondor War video. I'll try and link it below. Basically, there's my train of thought is I think it's really good. Jason has played it. He says that it's good, but it lacks things like a combat ability. So, if you guys want to hear our opinions on that, just go check out the Gondor War video. Alright, Lurtz's Scouts. This was a really cool one. So Lurtz is in this army. Ugluk, Mahur, Uruk-hai Scout Captain, Uruk-hai Drummer, Uruk-hai Scouts. Uruk-hai Scouts can take a banner, Uruk-hai Bow, or Shield. Lurtz Scouts force must always include Lurtz, who is always the army's leader. Makes sense, because the name of the Legendary Legion is Lurtz's Scouts. Okay, so there's a Relentless March. If your army includes Mahur, then any Uruk-hai Scout in your force may be upgraded to Mahur's Raiders rather than just one in his warband. This upgrade is free rather than costing 1 point per model. Additionally, Lurtz, Ugluk, the Scout Captains, and Drummer increase their movement to 8. Additionally, friendly models gain Woodland Creature. So this is a really big deal, guys. So I've actually played a similar army like in last edition before this Legendary Legion came out, and I tried playing Scouts. And you're talking about some serious fast movement with that ability. I can see that being a really good on maneuver scenarios. Scenarios like reconnoiter scenarios. like capture control, seize the camp, because you're probably going to have a pretty high model count with this Legendary Legion. So that special rule just by itself, I'd say, is a big deal. So there's two more. So a worthy foe. Alerts may declare a heroic challenge against any hero model regardless of heroic tier. Additionally, if Alerts declares a heroic challenge and the target hero declines, then Alerts regains the might points spent in declaring the heroic challenge. That is a massive deal, guys. Alerts is a hero of valor, normally, and he himself is a monster in his profile. I could easily see him charging a lot of other heroes of valor, and then heroes of fortitude, minor heroes, and I'm assuming independent heroes as well. I could see him taking on pretty much a majority of those kind of heroes. So it makes Alerts, I mean, of course, he's going to be your army leader, but it makes him a very valid piece to go take on other heroes and stuff. And then he has another really cool rule. Once per game, Alerts can use his shield as a throwing weapon. This is a strength of 4, and any man-sized or smaller model that is hit by the shield is automatically knocked prone. Once Alerts has thrown his shield, he no longer carries it and cannot use it for the remainder of the battle. Note that even though he no longer has a shield, his defense will not be reduced. So this is a really cool rule, really thematic, because in the movie, Alerts whips his shield into Aragorn, almost killing him. And I can see this being a really cool rule where you can throw Alerts in against the hero. A lot of models possibly getting wounded and then knocking him prone and then getting in there and challenging him. I can see it being a really well set up, especially the fact that you move 8 inches, so you have a lot of room to move. So yeah, this is a really good Legendary Legion. So we got a few more. I'm going to cover the next one. I'm going to skip one. I'm going to come back to it because I actually want to talk about that one a little bit more in depth. But I'm going to talk about the Black Riders. So this is like a really, really solid Legendary Legion. So at the Dry Falls of Ralros, which was a tournament back in October, this Legendary Legion was used. And it was absolutely devastating, guys. This thing, when you start talking about all the rules and bonuses it gets, you'll understand. I'll explain a little bit more too. So the Black Riders Legendary Legion. The Black Riders force must always include the Witch King of Angmar, who is always the army's leader. The Witch King of Angmar counts as a hero legend in the Legendary Legion. Only a maximum of 9 ring wraiths can be included in the Legendary Legion. You can take the Witch King, he could be anywhere from 180 to 160, I'm assuming, yeah, 160 on a horse. You can give him a Morgul Blade, and then a ring wraith can be 65 to 120 on horse as well. Terror in the Night. A model in range of between 4 and 6 models from this force with Harbinger of Evil or Harbinger of Evil special rule suffers an additional -1 to their courage. A model in range of between 7 and 9 models from this force with the Harbinger of Evil suffer -2 to their courage. This is an extremely solid rule, guys. So your Courage 3 warriors, which is pretty much a majority of the warrior units of the game are Courage 3, become Courage 1, making it very tough for your guys to be able to get in there and charge these ring wraiths, and then it's terrifying. Pun intended. It's going to be almost impossible to get in with your warrior units. You're going to need to have horns, This is one of those Legendary Legions, when I've been building lists recently, I'm like, what if I have to fight that? What tools do I have to fight that? Okay, so moving on, they have the Screech of the Nazgul. Each ring wraith can, once per game, called the channeled version of Transfix magical power without declaring a heroic channel. This magic power is automatically cast as a result of a 6, and no will points are expended. The target can make a resist test as normal. Make sure to note which Ringwraith model has used this ability, as each Ringwraith can use this ability once per game. Again, at most you're going to have 9. I'm not sure the points limit. I do believe that the guy using this Legendary Legion at Dry Falls had 7 at one point. He may have gone up to 9 at the higher, because it was an escalation event. And he was telling me that you can basically single out a hero with Screech, exhaust all their will, and you have a stupid amount of will in your army. It's like 70 or something. And you can pretty much, after you Screech him to death, making him or her burn all their will, then you pretty much have free reign to do whatever magic power you want the rest of the game. It's insane to think about how much will that this list has and how much magic ability it has. The Will of Sauron. Friendly Ringwraiths do not lose their will for being in combat as per their Will of Evil special rule. Really, really big deal, guys. So normally, one of the old tricks to getting a Ringwraith to dissipate, which means it runs out of will and vanishes, was to just base it in combat. Try and get that combat against it. So A, you're probably not going to be able to charge him with -2 to your courage. And B, that age-old tactic of basing him and trying to get them to exhaust their will from combat is no longer a viable option. So that means you have to get in combat with him, and you have to try and win him the old-fashioned way. The Hunt for the Ringbearer. At the start of the fight phase, before other heroic actions are declared, if it would be possible for a friendly Ringwraith model to charge an enemy model with 1 ring following successful heroic combat, the Ringwraith may declare a heroic combat without expending might. Only 1 Ringwraith can declare a free heroic combat in this way per turn. If the successful Ringwraith that declared the heroic combat must charge an enemy model with the 1 ring through any other models that move as part of the heroic combat may act as normal. The model who declared their free heroic combat automatically wins the roll-off to see which heroic combat goes first. If applicable, they must select the free heroic combat before any others. So, basically, the way I see it, quite a few armies have a Ringbearer in them. Numenor has 1. Lake Town has 1. Goblin Town has 1. The Shire has 1. The Fellowship has 1. So quite a few armies have them. So being able to get free resources, which this list has plenty of, I see it being very viable. So this Legendary Legion devastated. It did a lot better than I thought. And after kind of reviewing it, it has a lot of mobility because all of your Ringwraiths are going to be on horses. It has the ability to cast a lot of magic. It negates the age-old ability of making them burn will by being in combat. And they have the Screech ability. So I think that this Legendary Legion, guys, it kind of there used to be something called the Flying Circus in last edition. Anyone who's not familiar, basically you would take 2 or 3 Ringwraiths on Fellbeast, and then you'd pad your army with orcs or whatever to kind of make that. I think that this Legendary Legion will kind of take its place. I think it'll do really well in scenarios that require mobility. I think it'll do really good in scenarios like Lords of Battle. I think it'll even win scenarios like Domination just because of the tools that it has. I think in order to win with this one, you're going to have to playtest with it a lot, but I'm a huge fan of this Legendary Legion. In fact, when the Made to Mortar Witch King came up, I bought him, and I bought a couple packs of the Black Riders, so I do plan on playtesting this one myself. Just like the Fellowship, I'm really excited about it. That's one thing I was really impressed with in this book, where the Legendary Legions in it were outstanding. There's the Kirith Uncle one, which can contain Shagrat, Gorbag, Mortar Urukai Captain, Orc Shaman, Orc Captain, Orc Warriors, Mortar Urukai. And Shelob, sorry I skipped Shelob, she's one of the important ones. Sereth Ungol Force must always include Shagrat, Captain of Sereth Ungol, and Gorbag, Orc Captain. Shagrat is always the army's leader. Shagrat can take the heavy armor and the shield, by the way. Any Orc hero model may lead Orc warrior models. Only Orc hero models may lead Orc warrior models, and only Urukai hero models may lead Urukai warriors. Okay, so Animosity is the first rule. Friendly Orc models gain +1 to wound in fights that are involved. Basically, they get +1 to wound if they're in the same fight with a Mortar Urukai. Mortar Urukai models gain a bonus +1 to wound if they're in a fight with a Mortar Orc. Rivals for power, sorry. Keep track of how many models Gorbag and Shagrat have each killed. At any point, one of them has fewer kills than the other. That model may reroll a single d6 when making a dual roll. So it's a very similar rule to Gimli and Legolas from the Fellowship. She hungers for sweeter meats. Shelob adds +1 to attack characteristic when involved in a fight with an enemy man, elf, or dwarf, or hobbit model, which is a majority of the armies probably in the game. It's a really good rule for her, too, because I think she has one attack in her profile. She's always hungry at the start of her move phase. As long as she is not engaged in a fight, Shelob can choose to kill and remove a friendly model within 1 inch of her from the board. If she does so, Shelob may reroll any number of dice when making dual rolls. So it's a really thematic list. I can see it having a lot of little cool moments, very thematic. Now here's one I kind of wanted to go in depth of. This is the last Legendary Legion I'm going to cover. And this is the Depths of Moria. So I know that there's a lot of mixed opinion on the Balrog out there. I personally feel like he's a really solid model to have in your army. And especially with this Legendary Legion. So the list contains the Balrog, Moria Goblin Captain, Moria Goblin Shaman, Moria Black Shield Captain, Moria Black Shield Shaman, Moria Goblin Drum, Moria Goblin Warriors, Moria Goblin Black Shields, Moria Black Shield Drummers, Moria Goblin Prowlers, and Cave Trolls. So, like I talked about in a few of our Gondor War Legendary Legion reviews, this list already has a lot of components that the regular list has. Yes, there are not the Marauders and a few of the named characters like Groblog and Ashrak and Druzag and Durbers. I think it's all of them aren't in this Legendary Legion, and they do have unique rules and things of their own. But on face value, I think that if you're going to take a Balrog in your army, you might as well take this Legendary Legion. And I'll go in depth on that. So a Depths of Moria force must always include the Balrog, and is always the army's leader. So the first rule is Shadow. Shooting attacks that target the Balrog will only ever hit on a 5 or more. It's a big deal considering siege weapons. Again, siege weapons is a pretty good way to try and take a Balrog out. So you're only hitting on a 5 now, which is a pretty big deal. And again, crossbows and things like that, getting a lucky shot on the Balrog. Dominion of the Balrog. Friendly goblin models within 6 inches of the Balrog gain a bonus of +1 to their fight value. Additionally, this army will never be considered broken so long as the Balrog has 6 or more wounds remaining. Should the Balrog have 5 or fewer wounds remaining, Then the army will use a normal break point, I guess. If the Balrog is slain, the army will immediately count as being broken. So a lot relies on the Balrog, basically, and he is the biggest piece in this list. You probably will have a relatively high model count, considering that no other named characters are in this list. Yes, the Balrog is a rather expensive model, but your troops are rather cheap. So, the next ability is Flame. Once per game, at the start of any shoot phase, the Balrog may select a single enemy model within 3 inches of it. Roll a d6 on a 2+, the model is immediately set ablaze. This is an active ability. After the Balrog has used this ability, it no longer benefits from the Shadow ability provided by this legendary legion. So it's a big deal. So the way I see it, a lot of scenarios that require you to deploy back, the Balrog is safe from being shot at, basically. For the most part, there's always a lucky dice roll that can hit him, but for the most part, he'll be safe. As soon as you get close to combat range or in combat, you can use this ability and set your opponent's leader ablaze. You can set Mumakil ablaze. You can set Elisar ablaze. You can set Bard ablaze, Théoden ablaze. I'm just thinking of all the heroes that you just set them ablaze. Bam! Right off the bat, they're gonna have to go prone to ignore that, or you could set them ablaze and then charge them with the Balrog or someone like a goblin, so they can't go prone. So they're gonna be taking, I think, strength 9 or 7 hits or something like that at the end of each turn. So it's a really good ability. Drums in the Deep. The effect of the Moria Goblin or Moria Black Shield drums are increased from 18 inches to battlefield wide. Additionally, so long as the drum head at least one drummer are alive, the drum will count as a banner for the purpose of victory points in scenarios that award victory points for having a banner left alive. So that's a really big deal. I'm not 100% sure. I think the drum is a banner. I think it's +1, -1 courage. So having that battlefield wide is an insane ability. You can deploy that goblin back somewhere in a corner where it's out of danger and your guys are getting buffed. So I see this Legendary Legion being probably the best way to play a Balrog. You probably could not take this Legendary Legion and take some of the other named characters with the Balrog if you really wanted to. But I think it'd be a very viable way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and then there's a section at the end where you can build a fantasy fellowship. For instance, you can replace Frodo with Bilbo. You can replace Sam with Hamfast Gaffer Gamgee. You can replace Mariotic with Barlaman. You could replace Gandalf the Grey. Well, with Gandalf the Grey, that's the other option. You could replace Gimli and Legolas with Eldon and Elrohir. You could replace Boromir with Halbarad. So that's kind of a thing they put in. So here's my final thoughts on this supplement. So it's very small in scale. I would have liked to have gotten another supplement last year. I 100% realized, though, that the state of the world and probably their state of their studios were somewhat diminished. I do think we're going to be getting a bigger one in the horizon. But I think that this book had really good profiles in it. I think that this book had excellent Legendary Legions. Probably my favorite Legendary Legions that have come out to date. I think that, like, for instance, the Black Riders are a really thematic, and I think they're going to be quite competitive. I think that the Breaking of the Fellowship, again, is very thematic and is a very competitive way to play the Fellowship. I said in our Gondor War Legendary Legion, I try and subjectively look at Legendary Legions of how competitive they can be and how thematic they are. And I think that this book went above and beyond with mixing both. For instance, if you're going to play your Urukai Scouts, play Lurtz's the Lurtz Legendary Legion. If you're going to play a Balrog army, take that Legendary Legion. If you want to play the Black Riders or Ring Wraiths, that's an excellent Legendary Legion. So I was blown away at the Legendary Legions in this book. They're probably my favorite ones. Very thematic, and I think they, like for instance, if I wanted to take the Fellowship to a tournament, I have a chance of maybe winning with them. Same thing with the Black Riders. So if you guys enjoy this kind of content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Maybe put in the comments below what your fantasy fellowship was, and I appreciate the support you guys give us. We just hit 900 subscribers, so please feel free to comment below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.